Hi, this is Jeff Furlot. This is Dr. Maswick. This is Chris Casagrande, and welcome back to our channel, Being Human. All right, boys, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, actually, we were talking about whether or not judgment was a good topic.
Okay. Well, if I may judge, I think it's a pretty shitty topic.
Yeah.
Judgment. Yeah, judgment's a good one.
Difficult.
What's the idea? Where are we at?
Oh, well, when we throw the word out, what are your first impressions? What are the first things that come to mind?
Okay. Actually, judgment's a pretty good narrative. Judging other people's behaviors.
I'm surprised by how much of my interactions with people are dictated by shared judgments.
Shared
judgments.
Oh yeah, people love that, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting with somebody that I like hanging around with, and they go, look at that fat lazy bastard over there, I jump in with that.
Yeah.
So that we're connecting on a judgment level.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
You think about it, how many of your interactions are around judging politics with people, or judging management, or judging coworkers, or a lot of our social interactions are built around
Judgment of others.
yeah.
But we talk about judgment like it's a bad thing, but there are certain times where judgment has to come into play.
I think those are rare, though.
How so?
Well, I think I had this discussion in a philosophy class or something one day. We talked about, so you're driving down the road and there's a hitchhiker, right?
Yeah.
And so the hitchhiker is a little old lady dragging some bags. You pick her up?
Little old lady dragging bags. What kind of bags? What's in the bag?
We don't know. That's where you have to make a judgment.
Yeah, you do.
Right.
So you have to make a judgment call.
Yeah. Okay. Same scenario. Big biker with tattoos carrying a bloody axe. You pick him up?
I don't think anybody would.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're making a judgment, right?
You have to make a judgment.
But of course, because in that moment you're going to take a risk without all the information you need. Those are the times when you need to make a judgment.
Absolutely.
When you're going to take a risk without all the information you need.
Okay.
Right? So in my scenario, the little lady pulls out a gun and blows off your head. And the guy with the axe, he was driving a truck and got tangled up with a deer and used the axe to try to get it out. And that's why he has a bloody axe. So your judgment was off in my story.
Yeah.
Right. So those are the
There's
times.
still blood on the axe.
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah, it's more dramatic.
Where did that come from?
Yeah. It's more dramatic that way. It's how you
Maybe he had a deer and he was trying to get the hoof or the paw out of the grill of his car.
Yeah, untangled from the
Hey,
fanny.
it's a sin.
I've seen it with cats.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So unless though
He's doing good, fellas.
It's a sin.
unless you're making a judgment where your safety is in concern, right?
Okay.
That's really unnecessary.
It is, but we do it all the time.
All the time.
Okay. So doing what we do, we work with people. When you're doing an assessment, your assessment is based on your judgments of the client. How do you see where the client is? You're judging based on the information that's given to you and based on the criteria that's been set forth that you abide by.
This is a social societal norm that has been set up, but doesn't make it helpful.
That's true, but in order to do our jobs properly,
Correct, yeah.
we have to make judgments based on what is in front of us. So there's a way that judgment is an amazingly powerful tool.
Yeah. And I think maybe it's useful to separate what I call value judgments.
Well, that's different.
Yeah, but it's still judgments, right?
It is judgments,
Yeah.
but value judgments are based on biases, based on maybe how you grew up or how you view the world.
Right, wrong, good, bad.
Right, all that.
I'm above, you're below.
Yeah.
Right.
Hierarchies.
Right. So in the
Jets suck, the Patriots are great,
Right.
whatever your team is.
Sure. And in the conversation of personal growth, that's the judgment I think that we're really talking about.
Agreed.
Yeah, the value judgments. I think that you're right. Even a mechanic has to make a judgment at some point. Okay,
Yeah.
I think the noise in your thing is
It's the alternator, no,
Right.
it's the viewpoint.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and is that a judgment then, or is it a guess?
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing clinically? We're guessing based on the available
Oh
information.
God, yes.
I think
That's true.
if every
Well, of course it
clinician,
is.
you
It's
have
an
to,
educated guess, but
it's an educated guess, and that's Isn't that what it is? It's a hypothesis.
So we're separating it from judgment.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the thing for me personally, as I started to, on my personal growth path, when I started to take a look at my judgments, first of all, I realized that I was doing it all the time.
Mhm.
Like, I remember coming home one day, my wife was working and I was working, and the dishes weren't done. I was angry that the dishes weren't done. And I realized that what I did was I judged how she used her time that day. I did. I wasn't there.
No, I believe you.
Yeah. And so now I,
Because this one thing was not completed.
Yeah.
A task where you feel that this is actually important.
yes.
Right.
Well, right. And there was a judgment there, and there was a little story in my head. Well, I worked all day and she didn't even do the dishes, right?
Sure.
You can hear that, right?
Yeah.
And so what happened?
Toxic masculinity.
Right,
That would be
right.
my judgment.
So, thank you, Jeff. So now I'm irritated, and I'm acting irritated toward her, although she doesn't know why.
Yeah.
And so the evening, of course, doesn't go very well.
No.
And the dishes didn't get done retrospectively in the past just because I passed a judgment on it,
Yeah.
right? And so then I started to watch it in other things I do. Like, I realized back when I quit smoking, within a day or two, when I saw other people smoking, smoker,
Yeah.
or I start working out and then I see fat people and go, they don't work out or they
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
eat
yeah.
right. And then I noticed it was all the time,
Yeah.
right? And then I started to wonder, why? Why am I doing this?
I wonder if it's because you get a dopamine hit when you judge people, and maybe it's where you're coming from. So are you judging people based on, I need to feel better than somebody?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So is that correct?
It's also to further solidify the ego.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can't lift yourself up, you can always
Bring someone down. Yeah. But we do that. And I think society does it quite a bit.
and therein lies the problem,
Right.
because we created a rank system.
Yeah.
We literally created a rank system. You're better if you're better looking, if you're physically attractive, if you have more money, if you have this kind of car, if you have this many degrees, and you're worse if you're homeless or you're at Walmart with pajama pants and your crack hanging out, or or you drive a car with a dragging muffler, right? And so we created a rank system, and once a rank system is created, I think.
I was wearing sweatpants at Walmart.
Yeah.
His crack was hanging.
His crack
Yeah.
was hanging.
And by the way, the sweatpants was so loose, he was dragging his muffler. Hey.
But if you live in a rank system, then you're constantly looking to see where you belong in it.
Yeah, hierarchies.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Facebook, isn't it? How many
Yes.
likes did you get? How many
Yeah.
friends do you have?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So
Well, on YouTube, hey, we pay attention. Who's watching? Do you feel bad when you're not getting enough views or likes?
right, I don't have any of those.
Okay,
Yeah, but
but
yeah.
some people do. That's why they would do something like this. It's like, are you doing this because you want to feel good about yourself? Are you doing it because you believe, and the three of us believe, that we're kind of onto something? We want to have these discussions. So we're putting it out there without being attached to whether anybody, but it'd be nice if people were looking.
I hope so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because from our view, it's like, well, we see how these conversations work in a dynamic setting.
Yes.
And so now we're guessing that since we're all kind of the same, all people, I go on social media to find anything that I can relate to that tells me that I'm not crazy.
Right.
Right.
Well, so go back to the attachment of, sending this out.
Yeah.
So the best way, I think, to understand whether or not you have an attachment to it is, if you open this up tomorrow and we have 0 views on this video, are you going to be upset?
Yes.
I won't be, but because I thought about that while you were saying that. I was like, would I be upset? I think I'd be confused. I'd be like, I'm surprised, but I wouldn't be upset.
I don't know if I'm upset. I think disappointed, because you're like, oh man, if only people could see this. I think this is a great conversation.
Right. Yeah. But disappointed would be attachment too, though.
Are
Yeah.
you still proud of it?
Yeah, of course.
You put out there,
Of course.
it's got 1,000 views or it got no views.
Right. And-
That's
And
Would you still be proud of it, 0 or 1,000?
yeah.
Would I still be proud of it?
You could have had 0 views.
I think I would. But then again, it depends on what mood I show up with. If I go like this, if I'm not feeling too good about myself, and I'm like, and no one's paying attention to what we're doing,
Yeah.
so fuck them and fuck you too.
Yeah. So you would just add it
that's
to the,
it.
Sorry about that, Mom, if you're watching this.
So you would just add
and
it
if
to the,
and if there's 0 views, then I won't
Then
worry
watch
about what I
this.
just
Yeah.
said.
so you would just add it to the list of reasons why you were upset.
Yeah,
When you do that, when you're upset about something, you start to collect more reasons to be upset as the day goes on.
Oh, yeah.
of course.
Okay. I just thought it was funny that you said that.
No, that's my favorite pastime. When I'm in a bad mood, I look for things to keep me in a bad mood.
Yeah.
If you feel uncomfortable and whatever the situation is, and you're involved with it, and then you see other people enjoying themselves, and I know this personally from personal experience, I'm going to find a way to make it not a good time, or this is horrible, look how they're acting, or whatever. And that is completely not okay.
That's judgment.
But it is judgment, and being a human being human,
You're trying to bring them down.
you're trying to bring them
Because
down.
you can't lift yourself up.
But subconsciously, right?
Yes.
You're not doing it because you want to hurt people, but you will validate your feeling by looking for reasons to act the way you're doing, or
Right.
to feel the way you're doing.
Right.
You are feeling.
Yeah.
We are constantly trying to justify an internal feeling with our experience of the world around us.
Right.
Yes, we are.
That's why we could be walking down the beach with our best friend and be in a horrible mood.
Yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
where is this need to bring other people down or lift ourselves up in a rank system? Where does that come from?
Where does it come from?
Yeah.
Oh, it's completely evolutionary and biological. No,
I think it's self-worth.
self-worth. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think we start training people to be less worthy right from the start.
Okay. So let's go deeper.
Yeah.
If there was no such thing as reflection, right? No mirrors,
Yes.
or you could not see yourself in a reflective surface.
Right.
Do you give a shit about what you look like?
I don't look in the mirror.
Okay, that's fair.
Can't you tell?
Yeah, based on your hair today.
I literally don't. Unless I'm
I
brushing
mean,
my teeth.
I didn't want to say anything.
Unless I'm brushing my teeth or shaving, I
Yeah.
don't. But
You can't look too bad. I think we're wearing the same fucking sweater.
that's all right.
Yeah, but it's very strange that it's based on stimuli, really.
I think it's a societal creation.
Okay. Yes, I agree.
There's a great study done. They took children from kindergarten and they gave them a survey every year all the way up to fifth grade.
Okay.
And they gave them the same survey. It's like, are you a good colorer? Are you a good artist? Are you
Good
a good
artist.
athlete? Are you good at this? And kids in kindergarten rank themselves incredibly high.
They do.
An interesting thing happened as they got older and their skills improved.
Hmm.
The way they saw themselves went the opposite direction.
Same is true with musicians.
As they're indoctrinated into a rank system.
Yes.
Right. So
It's a
here's
learned behavior. It's not innate.
right. And we created it, I think, societally speaking. I think if you go back to our early beginnings as hunter-gatherers, we lived in egalitarian societies, right?
Yeah.
And probably the best example of that we can think of historically within our ability to look backwards is Native Americans, right? So if you're in a Native American tribe, is there a brave with a teepee and another brave sleeping in mud? No. Is there a
No.
brave with a bunch of food and another brave
No.
starving?
No.
Right. So the egalitarian society was truly equal. So you would have
Mhm.
grown up. Even the chief wasn't in charge.
No.
He was a vessel of knowledge, right? You went to him to ask
They
questions.
would sit around the
They-
fire,
Right,
and they would bring their complaints to the chief, and he was the last one to speak,
right. And so
not the first one.
in those societies, although, a little bit harder to compare just because of the complexity, you didn't have substance use disorder, you didn't have mass killings, you didn't have suicide, they didn't incarcerate, right? So many of our societal problems have to do with the rank system where people are marginalized. I don't think human beings do well when they're marginalized. I think we struggle.
I agree, and they
Oh,
do,
yeah.
but they have banishment if somebody did something
So
wrong.
rare.
Rare.
Can you think of a war or conflict that ended in violence that didn't start with one group marginalizing another?
No.
I think that's the start of every single war or armed conflict in the history of mankind.
So the Vikings come over, and they marginalized
The locals.
the
Yeah.
locals. They landed on the shores of England, and they came marching through, and they first experienced, they came upon a church, right? And so they marginalized the Christians because of the way they grew up, and they easily ran through and took over because they didn't see them as, anytime you're forced into any kind of conflict based on whether you want to gain property or land or whatever, there has to be something that switches on that says, I'm going to marginalize this person So if I have to kill them, I'll be able to live with it.
Yeah, we do that systematically. What did we call the Vietnamese in the Vietnam War?
I'm not even going to repeat it.
Right.
But a lot of things.
Okay, what did we call the Germans?
Krauts.
And what did we call the Japanese? What did we call the Iraqis?
Yeah, all that.
Yeah, they had to be.
See, I'm being very careful. I
Right.
know all those things, but
But
I hate saying those
but
things.
we had to dehumanize them in order
Absolutely,
to build them.
agreed.
Right.
Yeah.
So that marginalization, I think personally, like, we have all these mass shootings.
Yeah.
Those people are people who are heavily marginalized. That's what I think that you can.
And they've had enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
human beings do not do well when they're marginalized.
No, they don't.
And marginalization as a society, this is when we started. Think about this. You have a friend who has a daughter who's 3. You want to compliment your friend about his daughter. What do you say?
She's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now her value is her physical appearance.
Yeah.
Right. And all of a sudden she starts getting compared to other kids who aren't as pretty. And once we start doing it, she's going to start doing it.
Well,
Right? You do it with your kids. Oh, you're better at math than your brother. You're taller. You're faster. You're smarter.
Right.
And we create a rank system before they have a fully functional brain. And then we introduce them into a society that is filled with a rank system.
We literally grade them.
Yeah.
You're a D, you're a C, you're an A, you're a B.
I don't.
You're
I
good at this, you're not.
and it's funny because why do we do that? So we can figure out why they are the way they are, or why they make the decisions. We say, well, it's because they're this.
Well, we've been ranked. Think of how many generations
It is.
you'd have to go back.
Yeah.
If we went back to when we were all in an egalitarian society, you'd have to go back 4,000 plus years.
Right.
So we started creating a rank system 4,000 years ago.
So if you did a job like, say you were a hunter and get on your horse and you're a great,
You were good at it.
you were good at
Yeah.
it and you could shoot your arrow while you're riding
Yep.
and kill. And
Yes.
So you show value.
Yes.
And so what will happen is maybe you can't do that anymore or you break your leg. So are you marginalized? No. Take the hide that we just skinned and now your job is to prepare it for clothing.
Right. But also,
But they see value in each one.
of course,
But
Yeah.
you didn't have value.
Your
You had
skills.
value as a group
because of
Yeah,
your
because
skills.
of your skills.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Better because you're good at this.
Yes.
Right. You weren't better because you were good at this.
Right.
In the egalitarian society.
Right.
We were better because you were good at it.
Right.
And we would put people where they were good, right? That would be
Yes.
a normal thing to do so that we could all be lifted up.
Yeah.
Right. But here in this society, if you're good at something, you're better. But the problem with it, of course, is if you're better than other people, then there's always somebody better than you.
Oh yeah.
You can never ascend to the top of that rank system.
So when people think that they're better than somebody else, and then they realize that that's not the case, that's when their whole attitude towards that way of thinking changes.
Right. When we're forced into humility, isn't it?
Humility,
The loss
yeah.
of everything when
Yeah.
you realize, yeah.
Yeah.
But for me in practice, I started by just getting rid of 5 words. Good, bad, right, wrong, and should.
Yes, I
Yeah.
heard you talk about that.
Yeah. And it's more of an internal thing for me. When I catch myself saying it, I know I'm standing in judgment.
Well, when I've heard you discuss that with people, I can see faces. When we do the panel thing in front of I see faces screw up and go, and someone will challenge you. Well, to kick a puppy is bad, so that's bad.
Correct.
And so people will try and point out, and I don't know if it's meant, you're trying to tell them how to live. You're offering them ideas that it's more internalized. You just said it. It's internalized. When I'm judging myself, if I'm judging myself as bad, then I won't see enough value in myself to become better at whatever it is that I'm not good at. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do. I think I know what you're saying. And the part about whether or not it's right or wrong to kick a puppy, right? It's not relevant for the judgment portion, because when you do that, then what you're doing is you're taking your values and you're applying them to other people.
Right.
I'm expecting you to live up to my values. Right. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because we do that when somebody cheats. Oh, he's a cheater, blah, blah, blah. That's because he's not living up to your value of integrity. That's not his value. Right? He's no better or worse of a human being. He did something you don't agree with. You see, there's a subtle difference there.
There is a subtle difference.
And an important difference, because entire wars have been fought over that subtle difference in belief systems.
Yeah.
Right. I expect everybody to live up to my values.
Yeah.
When they don't, they're wrong and I'm right. And that empowers the ego, of course. The ego loves to be right. It makes it superior.
Look how much better I am. I don't kick puppies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the purpose of the news when they parade people who've gotten in trouble with the law in front of us. That is so every morning I could say, at least I'm better than that guy.
Do you think that they're doing it purposefully, or do you think it's ingrained in them, or at least a learned behavior?
Good question. Whether or not we're so used to humiliating the portion of us that's made mistakes, whether or not we're just so used to that becomes the standard, right? But I suspect that we like to see it because we're always looking for where we rank. We're always looking for where we rank.
When does it end?
As for an individual or for?
I think it ends for an individual when they've experienced a straight up ego death, or at least close enough to it where you realize a couple of things. I really don't matter that much, and that's not a bad thing.
No, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. That's a realistic view of, that's when you start the road to becoming a reformed narcissist.
Yeah.
You start to see the value in other people, because you see the value in yourself, and you start to develop more empathy. Geez, I wouldn't like it if that happened to me, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, but in order to do that, you got to take out the feeling of resentment and judgment. And when something burns you to the core and you're at that, it's almost like you just level you down to the foundation. You start to pick a piece apart as you're digging through the wreckage.
Yeah.
You start to find the wreckage of your past, and here's a photograph of when I was being an asshole. Here's a photograph of when I was being jealous. Here's a photograph. So you start digging through, and you're like, none of that has helped me at all.
And
because the house no longer stands.
Yeah, none of it
based on all of this.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, and both of you. What are the things that you judge people most harshly for?
How they treat me.
The things that I don't like about myself.
Yeah. Yep.
That's better.
People mistakes you've made.
That's totally better.
Yep.
When people are filled with ego, it drives me nuts.
Yep.
Because I recognize
what I just said was egotistical. How they treat me.
Well,
I'm sorry, that was wrong. I should not have said that. See how quickly I flipped over? That's why you sit next to me.
Let's just get this straight. So long as you treat Jeff well, you're good.
Yeah.
Everybody else is bad.
And I'm a work in progress just like everybody else. But it's funny because you know this stuff and you still
do it.
You still do it.
Yep.
You still honestly say, this person is treating me poorly.
Yep.
And I don't like that.
Yeah.
So now I'm judging them based on how they view me.
Yeah.
Which is so stupid.
And nothing you have control over.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Well, that's a huge one, right?
Yeah.
If once we know that whether somebody values me or not is not up to me,
that's right,
then life becomes a little bit easier.
Sure does.
Yeah.
But how do I get to a place of non-judgment? I'm not seeing any difference between me and anybody else.
Right.
And then expand that out to everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really deep spiritual Buddhist understanding of the world.
Yeah.
Well, let's take it to a saint level like we did accepting. So then you're not
We
going
got
to
Saint Maz again?
well, I'm just
putting a sign over his head that says Saint Maz.
It doesn't necessarily mean me.
Oh no, it does.
Just when you so when you mentally
that's not very saintly.
When you mentally explore it, you have to, right? If it's a real truth, you have to apply it in its totality. And so you have to say, well, then am I not going to judge child molesters? Am I not going to judge people who torture other people?
Yeah.
Right. And so and I don't know that I can be there, but if you were going to embrace this on a saint level, that's what you would shoot for. And I suspect Buddha would not judge child molesters and people who tortured. And I suspect Jesus wouldn't. And I suspect,
I also think this. I love the ideas of Jesus and Buddha and, anybody that is saintly in the sense that, we're all one and we should all this and all that. But it's my biases that say, yeah, but not them. Yeah. So that's a very strange thing, right?
Well,
and it's an honest thing.
Of course it is.
And it's a list that I've developed in my head based on past experiences of he's okay, but he's not.
Now, you know what I do with them? The extreme
Is
cases.
it the Italian thing?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
You know, the extreme cases, the child molesters, the torturers.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I do? I don't think about it.
Yeah.
I just avoid it altogether.
In the book, Letting Go of Fear, the Dalai Lama gets into that.
Mhm.
He talks about how he has compassion for the girl who was raped, but also compassion for the rapist.
Yes.
And it's a really difficult thing to wrap your mind around.
Yes.
He truly feels compassion for both of them.
Right.
I-
'Cause it
I
hurt them both.
Personally, I can't get there.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I can.
Can't.
But I'm
Haven't
not.
yet. Yeah. And so I put the extremes on the thing, but I recognize that if you were going to apply that all the way across, that you not judge anybody. But I want to go back to what Chris said: when you judge people the most harshly, it's because it's something about you that you see that you don't like, right? So in that, then judgment is almost always self-judgment.
Yeah, there's a deep clue in that,
Yeah.
because the one that we are struggling the most not to suffer from judgment is ourselves.
And I'd like to reach back to some Christianity and specifically the book of Matthew, of course.
Mhm.
He says,
St. Matthew.
"Judge not, and thou shalt not be judged."
Yeah.
He didn't mean if you stop judging people, God will stop judging you. God never judged you in the first place.
Mm.
And he didn't mean if you stop judging people, other people will stop judging you, because that's never going to happen.
Mm.
So what he meant was, when you stop judging people, you'll also stop judging yourself. And they happen at the same time. And I think that's the thing.
I think that's the only way to get there.
Yep.
Is to recognize your judgments against other people to stop judging yourself.
Right. Back when I judged my wife for not doing the dishes, I was judging myself for not doing enough.
Yeah.
I'm not doing enough in this household or this family. I'm not
Where
doing enough.
I'm leaving it all on her to do that.
Right. It didn't have to be the dishes. At the time, I was struggling to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So I was judging myself for not contributing,
Right.
and I flipped it.
But you were contributing in a different way.
Sure, but it didn't matter how much I was contributing or not. It was the judgment that was the problem. Right.
Let me ask you this though. Back to the Dalai Lama.
Yeah, judgment doesn't do math.
Nope.
No.
It's just a feeling.
And I don't know if this is the right thing to say, but I'm just going to say it because it's worth a discussion. Do you think the Dalai Lama would feel differently if his mother was raped?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
I think
Get him on the phone.
I don't have his number.
Okay.
Don't you think somebody's asked him that?
He's a Dalai Lama. He doesn't have a phone.
I mean, that's true ascension.
But but I'm asking it because
He would feel bad for his mother.
I wonder if it's look, a lot of the people that you and I, all of us, aspire to be, or at least respect, read their work, watch their videos, all of these guys. It's easy for people to say these things until they're actually faced with the reality. Now, there's a lot of people out there that have experienced some real darkness, and they still share this same mentality of forgiveness.
Mhm.
I can definitely relate to that for sure.
That's a good kind of transition, because I think if people are listening to this, they're like, well, how do I practice non-judgment? What are the steps, or are there steps to get there, or what steps have you guys taken?
Yeah. Well, it's a practice for sure. My step was those 5 words. Those were enough to wake me up to I'm judging somebody, right and wrong. Even if it was I'm right, I'm making a value judgment. Somebody else is wrong. It's never me that's wrong, right? In the ego value judgment.
Yeah, right.
Good, bad, and should. Should is my favorite one, because when you say somebody should have done something, what you're really saying is, I think my judgment on how they handled that was better than their judgment on how they handled that.
It's such a tough word because it's a word I use as a crutch constantly when I'm teaching a group or if I'm meeting with a client one-on-one.
Yep.
What you should do is
Right. That's putting your judgment into their
100%.
life. Yeah.
And now I'm very aware of it. So when I catch myself doing it, if I catch myself doing it, I'll do it in front of people. I'll go, let me go back. My suggestion would be, is that better?
Right, but it woke you up.
Practice.
That's the practice,
It's the practice. It's the awareness.
Yeah.
Or if I'm about to, say we're teaching group and there's a client and I know what's going on with him, and I know the reality of his situation or her situation, and I decide that I'm going to say a thing that may land improperly on them. and may come off almost negative. I'm taking a risk that this person is going
Yes.
to explode.
Yes.
Um,
You mean figuratively, right?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, figurative.
You don't
Not-
expect them to actually
nobody's
explode.
going to explode.
Okay, good.
Insert
Yeah, I wouldn't even
graphic
take that
here.
risk. Yeah.
What I mean by that is this: I will say things. If I may offer this to you to soften the blow, that's an awareness that this may go poorly
Yeah.
and the person may be hurt.
Yes.
But it's our job to push,
Of course.
to poke.
Right. There's no judgment in that, though.
No, I guess there's not. But the person I'm speaking to, if I don't put that caveat out there, I'm fearing the judgment that he's going to view me as tyrannical and a bully.
Yeah. So now your fear of
Other people's judgment,
which is huge.
big time, because that stops us from saying the thing that we think we should say.
So your fear of them feeling judged, you start judging yourself for feeling like you judged them.
Yeah, because the level of honesty can create pain for other people.
Well, here's an interesting thing. You want to try this one out. After a while of practicing the non-judgment,
Yeah.
right? Getting better at it, because when you practice, you get better at stuff.
Sure.
And then somebody in my life was sitting there talking poorly about somebody else, judging them, and I was like, "Look at them judging other people. Shouldn't do that." And what was I doing?
Yeah.
Judging.
Or one better, it's like, oh, I can't believe I was judging that person like that. Now I'm judging myself for
Yeah.
judging.
Yeah. And so, even when you're attending to it,
Yeah.
it's still coming up to the surface.
Yeah.
It's a very tricky thing.
It's pervasive,
It is.
because nobody's going to stop judging you.
Yeah.
They're going to judge you based on the way you look, how much money you make, how many degrees you have, even within a degree. Oh, did you get did you get your master's at the community college or Stanford?
Yeah.
Right? Those are set up judgments. They're in
Right.
advance. Oh, did you play for this team or that team?
Right.
What position did you like? The judgment, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. The color of your house, the size of your house, what neighborhood your house is in, what school district you send your kids to, how tall they are, how smart they are, what kind of grades they get. You get judged based on what your kids do.
Yeah.
Yeah. If my kid performs well in the baseball game, everybody pats me on the back. If my kid breaks somebody's window, people are calling me up and going, "What the fuck?" Right?
Yeah.
Your parenting gets
Both are
judged.
swinging a bat.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pervasive. But the thing is, what I've noticed is as I stop judging other people, I also stop caring about other people's judgments of me.
Yeah.
Those came together.
I think another good way of noticing it is watch people when they're angry or frustrated and pick out the judgment.
Oh, yeah. That's a
You
good one.
associate the judgment and the suffering. And after a while of doing that, you start to see how invasive it is in your life.
Yeah.
You
Well, it's
start to notice
everywhere.
it everywhere. It's like, oh, it's on the news. I'm reading
Facebook,
it.
the
It's in-
news, sports.
Yeah, it's in the grocery store next to me. It's in
Yeah.
the cashier. It's
Patriots fans are better than Jets fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's everywhere.
And if you can't take it, then remove yourself from it. It's make yourself separate from the uncomfortableness until you can figure out what it is about it that's making you feel that.
Or it's
Yeah.
recognizing the amount of suffering we do from our judgments.
Hmm.
They seem innocent in the moment, but I think a lot of our suffering comes from our need or want or our habit of judging other people, places, and things.
Yeah. And I think it's based in self-worth.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because you're always looking for where is your worth on the scale of rank system that we've created.
agreed.
And so if you can find a self-worth that's absolute and eternal, not related to external stuff, then the judgment's easier to lose.
I think we should definitely do an entire thing on self-worth.
We definitely
I
should.
think that's going to be one of the pieces of the puzzle,
Of course, yeah.
because they.
So much
Oh.
overlap.
I agree.
I mean, ego loves judgment too, so we could do
Yeah.
the whole thing on ego.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be fun. That'll be fun.
This is very quickly falling into a rhythm of the 12 spiritual truths that we started writing about
It is, yeah.
without ever realizing it.
Yeah, we can share those at some point
Yeah.
somehow, or just do it this way.
Yeah. Let's
Agreed.
go through all 12 of them.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I judge you as worthy.
I think this podcast sucked.
A witch. More Python. So I guess we're going to leave it right there, guys. Thank you very much for the conversation as always.
Oh, it was great.
Dr. Maswick, Jeff Furlock, Chris Casagrande. We're here on our channel, Being Human.
Like and share.
Like and share, and please subscribe if you like the content. I'm going to insert some music to kind of take us out and fade us out right now. I'm doing it right now as I'm editing this. Bye. We'll see you later.